For those folks that are just joining us, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm an American, born in America, raised in America. I'm from a family of two Midwestern farm families. Dad was military, plugged me into public school, graduated from public school, went into service, decided to go serve the country. I served in the Coast Guard for 4 years. Spent some time, actually it was about 5 years, spent some time working for the Air Force after that with the skills that I acquired in the Coast Guard as a flight engineer and an aircraft electrician. Went into business with some partners in the mid-'80s and decided I didn't understand some of the principles of law that we were faced with relative to whether we should incorporate or whether we should go as a partnership. So I began studying law, attending meetings, and discovered the Constitution. Started studying the Constitution, attending meetings, fell in love with the Constitution, ended up selling my business in about 1992. We had opened 3 art frame galleries on the Front Range. But once I discovered the Constitution and the principles of America, now this is during the time of the Gulf War, and I think we're looking pretty bad economically. And I was pretty convinced that the economy was not going to make it through the 90s. So I moved up to Gunnison and just began to study law, the religion, and economics. I made that my life's goal to understand that so I could begin to get my mind around what was going on in America, what was at the root of our problems here in America. And so I ended up going back to the University of Northern Colorado and acquiring a paralegal certificate and becoming a freelance paralegal, doing a lot of writing, and actually began doing seminars on the Constitution and the principles of the Declaration of Independence. And the more I did that, the more excited I became about the possibility that there are people that really do love the foundations of America. And so I fell in love with sharing these principles, and the more I shared, the more I wanted to share, and then I realized the more I needed to know. So it became an insatiable hunger to understand the principles that America was founded on. And so I started off in the Bible, born and raised Catholic, began church hopping after I turned 18 and going through the different various Christian denominations in one church and out the other, wondering why we couldn't be united even in our religious belief systems. And so my prayer became, I prayed for an understanding of the kingdom of heaven in a way that we could plug it in politically and socially and in a way that would benefit America rather than tear it apart. I was, for some reason, able to see what we're experiencing now. I was seeing in about 1989, 1990, convinced that what we're experiencing right now, we were going to experience in the early 90s. So I've been waiting for about 20 years, getting ready to preparing the family emotionally, spiritually, physically, to endure a time of what I believe is an extreme hardship for America as we go through an identity crisis. And we rediscover who we are, and I think that that's what we're at the threshold of right now. We're having an identity crisis. Americans don't know we don't know who we are. We've lost sight of who we are. We're relying on the government to tell us who we are. We're relying on the public education system to define who we are, rather than going to the church to really define who we are at a fundamental level. And understand that we're children of God. And in America, the fundamental principle in America is that there's a Creator who is our Father in heaven, and that this Creator has endowed us with certain unalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. These aren't my words. These are the words of the Declaration of Independence. If the people have these rights, and through consent of the governed, we have the power to establish governments, then the people, in fact, are the kings of America. The government in America was established to serve the people. That's why we think of the government as being public servants. This is right out of the gospel of Christ, who taught us not to lord over each other like other nations, but we're supposed to be serving each other. And so in America we set up a government on those very principles, to serve, not to lord over, not to rule over, but to serve the people. And the purpose, the ultimate reason for the government to serve the people is to secure the unalienable rights endowed upon the people by the Creator. And if the government is functioning in its limited capacity to serve the people to that end, then the objective and the end result of that is liberty and justice for all, which is what we hear in the Pledge of Allegiance. So it always comes back to the choice to acknowledge that there's a supreme being, and that supreme being is a creator, and that in this country America is founded on that foundation, or not. And right now I think we're experiencing the not road. You know, for the most part, America has wandered so far away from its roots that we're, for the most part, as a body politic, as a people, we're oblivious to who we are. And so because we're oblivious to who we are collectively, we're powerless against forces that are coming against this country. Economic forces, political forces, social forces, and even a new force, a religious force called Islam, that believes in a Sharia law. They would love nothing more than to impose this law, and they have been infiltrating the systems of the world, you know, over the past several decades, and now we're coming to a crossroads where we're going to have to choose. There was a video running around on the internet within the last couple days where in one of these demonstrations, and it was either Libya or it was Egypt, and I'm not sure which one, and forgive me for not knowing that. But the crowd had come up against the police line. And it was that time of day when the bell went off and it was time to pray. The entire crowd kneels down and starts giving homage to Allah. The police line makes an about face to honor the fact that these guys all got down as a crowd, and together they were honoring Allah. And then when it was done, they got right back to their demonstration again. Now, you know what? When I first saw that, what I thought was, we are in trouble. Because if we've got a people motivated by a conviction and a religious belief system that makes these people very dangerous. We, on the other hand, America, we've got such an entitlement mentality, and we've got such an arrogant attitude of selfishness that we have brought all of this, the problems that we're experiencing now, we've brought all this on ourselves. But it's not too late. I think America has an opportunity here if we would just humble ourselves and acknowledge that we've gone down a wrong path, and if we would turn around and get back to our roots. Henry David Thoreau said, "There's 1,000 striking at the branches for every one striking at the root." If we would stop messing with symptoms and start dealing with the root problems of America, and realize that it's because we've strayed away from our fundamental, the basic foundational principles of America, if we would realize that and begin to recover those principles and begin to act out the principles that made us great, that our fathers and our grandfathers and our great-grandfathers, what they knew and understood, I believe America can at least salvage what is left of the great documents and the principles that this country is founded upon, and we can begin to restore a semblance of sanity in this country, and successfully, I believe, as well.